Hello YouTube, my name is Nick, and today I have kind of a different kind of video to bring to you today. Been trying to film this for a little while. Been pretty ill. I haven't had much of a voice recently. This is the most I've had in about 2 weeks. But we're here now, and this is kind of like a new pseudo-series I kind of want to start. It's almost like I feel some type of way about these albums. And this just seemed like the easiest one to start with, and maybe the most accessible. This is going to be entitled, like, albums that I eventually start to physically crave if I don't listen to every once in a while. So this is essentially, like, more simply put, just like some of my really, really high up favorite albums that, like, I obsess over and I know, like, everything about, I feel like. So, let's get into this. I got a whole bunch of stuff here. I tried to limit it a little bit, so this wasn't too long. I think I got a pretty good mix here, genre-wise. So I'm going to start with CDs. I got CDs and vinyl. So this first one is a little bit of a heated topic. I know there are a lot of people who really hate this album, and those people are my enemies, because this album is absolutely one of my favorite albums of all time. But this is Agony by Flesh God Apocalypse. Perhaps maybe the best drum performance in metal history on this album, in my opinion, by Mr. Francesco. Extreme symphonic metal. If we call it extreme symphonic metal, then I feel like people aren't allowed to get mad anymore, because I feel like most people get mad at this because, like, wah, it's not technical death metal like Metal Archive says. But this is absolutely one of the most impressive, atmospheric, oppressive albums, as a sense of, like, musical extremity. This is their best album for sure, in my opinion. This is the peak of when they were, like, still a little chaotic, but everything just feels really sensational. One of those albums that will take you hundreds of listens to really wrap your mind around everything that's going on. It's a diverse album, turbo fast, about 1 trillion notes on that album. If you don't like it, then I'm sorry to disagree with you, but you're wrong, and that's my opinion. So, next one we have here, Flesh God Apocalypse, Agony. Go check that out. If you don't like, or if you don't know about Flesh God, then please do yourself a favor. This next one I have is actually kind of a funny story. Ever since I've had my car, it has a 6-disc changer, and I've had it for several years now. And the slot 1 is dedicated solely to this band, The Ruins of Beverast. I'm just gonna include, like, all of their albums in this, because I listen to some sort of Ruins of Beverast maybe once a week, honestly. I kind of have a problem. The Foul Semen of a Sheltered Elite is... I flip back and forth whether this is my favorite album or not. This or Rain Upon the Impure is my favorite. Extremely different albums, even though they came out back to back. Well, they came out in sequence, not like they came out like the same year or something. But extremely dark, heavy, oppressive, monstrous, tyrannical, black metal, funeral doom metal, experimental, lots of choirs, and an extremely unique and recognizable guitar tone on this album in particular. I'll show this one, and then I also have Blood Vaults here. I don't have them all here. I didn't want to pull them all out. I have 2 in my car right now, I think. Probably my most appreciated and also most respected metal musician in the world right now, Alexander of Milenwald. Everything that he does is absolutely a masterpiece, and I don't use that word lightly. It is a great time to be alive at the same time that he is. Never a dull moment listening to his albums. Just each one of them is extremely unique and have their own tone, pace, experimentation, just extremely sensational listening experiences is how I would describe these. Just super long, super detailed. Go do yourself a favor and listen to everything by them. This next one is going to be the last CD, and this is one that is a little more sentimental to me than anything. It is also extremely amazing, and I still listen to this all the time. But I listened to this a lot in some formative years, and also during some important times in my life. But this is The True Shape of Eschatos by Plateau Sigma. It's a little dark. Try not to get too much glare. But this is like a really emotional, like atmospheric doom, death, slightly funeral doom metal band. I believe they're Italian. This disc is a little worse for wear. I've put it through its paces. But this has one of the most unique and also just like spine tingling and mind expanding atmospheres. This was one of the first times I've ever experienced something like this, where it's like real true like darkness mixed in with beauty and stuff like that. I don't remember what year this came out. I want to say like 2014 or 2015, maybe even earlier than that. I don't remember. But there's songs like Stalingrad, Ordinus Supernova Sex Horarum, Amber Eyes, The River 1917. Just, it's a pretty lengthy album. And there are moments on here where you're totally transported into a different era and a different life. And it's just, it's hard to put into words where this album takes you, especially the fourth song, Ordinus Supernova Sex Horarum. One of the coolest and most inspirational songs that I've ever heard. Just, it brings back a lot of memories when I listen to this album, so that's why I kind of go back to that. So now we're going to be getting into the vinyl. There are some things in this video that I left out due to redundancies that I've kind of already mentioned before. But we're going to start with a classic here. We're going to start with maybe tied for my favorite band ever. But we're going to start with good old Ahab. I recently, well, I guess not super recently, I finished my vinyl collection of theirs because they did a few reissues. And if you've been following my channel for any amount of time, you'll know that Ahab is a very, very special band to me. All of their material, 10 out of 10 works. Extremely inspired funeral doom that is not especially funeral doomy right now, which is totally fine. There's a lot more sludge, a lot more experimentation in the newer material, but I totally feel for the band. I appreciate that they move on to new sounds if they want to try it, because a lot of bands will just make the same album 15 times, and who wants to experience that? We got the newest album here. Hopefully we hear something new from them here soon. There's usually almost always an Ahab album in my car as well. Gorgeous artwork. But Ahab is another one of those bands that kind of transports you into another dimension. I really like the strong thematic and transformative atmospheres. That's the kind of albums that I usually come back to a lot is if they have some sort of unique qualities that set them apart that other bands can try to imitate but always fail, because typically the original, the ancestors knew what they were doing at the highest peak. So I got one more here. I do have the Antiquities of Ocean as well, but I'll show you the giant picture disc. Someone just let off some fireworks outside. It's a little early for that. But yeah, it's hard to say which Ahab album is my favorite. It's kind of like Ruins of Everast for me. It's one of those bands where each album is probably a 10 out of 10 in my head. So, like, probably whatever I'm listening to currently is my favorite one. That's just kind of how my brain works sometimes. Yeah, that's going to be Ahab. Let's move on to the next one. This next one is for sure my favorite death metal album of all time. It took me a little bit of time to understand this album, but once I did, it's one of the most rewarding listens that any fan of music or extreme music can possibly imagine. This is Elvenephorus by Lycathia Flame. Extremely iconic album, well known at this point, very highly sought after album. I got the gold repress that Blood Music did some time ago. Again, another one of those albums that's almost like it's from another time. I don't want to keep using the same words, but it's like a transformative album. Like, once you listen to something like this, and you've never heard anything like it before, it's like, it changes your mind on so many aspects of music, and really makes you appreciate how good of musicians they are, and I don't know what word to use, the creativity and the, like, astute nitpicking that is done in the songwriting and the mixing. There are two different mixes of this, and I typically prefer the remaster. A lot of people don't like the original. I like the original, but if I'm just going to listen to it casually, then I'll listen to the remaster. But yeah, favorite death metal album ever. Technical, brutal, experimental, atmospheric. There's like a 12-minute long synthesizer song at the end of the album. It's just like a bunch of bird noises. It's an embarrassment of riches, let's say that. So this next one I have here is one I'm not really sure how people feel about. It's not really a band I really hear a lot of chatter about. I know that they're like a big band, but I don't know anyone who really is like a massive fan of as I am. But this is Life Lover with Pulver. This is an alternate artwork. The original, yeah, here it is. It's the original. I don't remember. This might be an Osmos repress. Yeah, Osmos. But this was my introduction to suicidal, depressive black metal, if you want to call them that. They're much more off-kilter, much more almost like pop rock inspired, as well as like maybe a little bit of electronic mixed in with black metal, mixed in with depressive stuff. Just really unique, genuine sounding music. There's just like a lot of interspliced moments that makes you remember that it's real people making the music, and it's just one of those albums that just takes you to a different place. So second from the last here is one that I've said is an album that I would take with me on a deserted island if I had to pick a few. This would definitely be on the list because I never get tired of it. But this is Archaeon by Mitochondrion, with the alternate artwork for the vinyl. Sorry, my hair is a little ridiculous right now. But Mitochondrion is like a chaotic, demonized, weaponized kind of black and death metal that is extremely hard to decipher, really loud and chaotic, but not as chaotic as something like war metal. I don't think I'd count them as war metal. Just insane music, really hard to understand. One of those bands that it's hard to really analyze because they're on like a different higher plane than regular songwriters. This thing's kind of fighting me getting back in here. But extremely long album, ridiculously long. Like over 70 minutes, I think. I never get tired of it. There's some songs on here I could probably listen to like 20 times on repeat because A, they're so long, and B, they're so creative that even if you listen to them back to back, that you'll pick up on stuff that you haven't heard before. So yeah, that's going to be the second to last one. This last one is one that I talk about ad nauseum. I really hope to see new stuff from this band soon, but this feels really heavy for some reason. This is Liber Lucifer 1 Chemsajet by Thy Darkened Shade. I mention this album all the time. The poster has been up there since I moved. This is my favorite black metal album ever. This is my favorite black metal band right now. I really, really hope to see some new material from them because they're kind of starting almost like a new wave of like hyper technical black metal that I'm a huge fan of. Ultimately detailed, really genuine feeling, amazing artwork, just the total package. It's super long. Pretty much all of my favorite albums except Pulver by Life Lover is an hour plus. I could listen to this for the rest of my life and never get bored of it. This is typically on constant repeat in like the fall. I don't know why. Just another one of those albums. There are very few albums that make me feel the way this album does, and it's hard to say if there ever will be another one like it. I really hope that they release stuff soon. I know they do a lot of shows and stuff, so hopefully it's not too far away. Amazing drum performances. The guitars are absolutely unparalleled, mind-bogglingly complex. Maybe the most detailed guitars I've ever heard in a black metal album. And the vocals are amazing. The atmospheres are amazing. Riffs for days. Money riffs for days, even on a black metal album. So yeah, if me talking about this album all the time hasn't made you go listen to this yet, go do it now. The link will be in the description. So maybe I'll do something like this again soon. Let me know some of your craveable albums. Let me know if you agree on some of these or disagree on these. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Mwah.